Welcome into Outkick the Show. I'm your fearless leader, Clay Travis, coming to you on Monday afternoon. I hope all of you are having a scintillating, superb, splendid day. I am here in Nashville, Tennessee, back from Vegas, where the expectation is that at any moment, i.e. in a couple of hours, tornadoes are going to come rolling through this city. So if you happen to be in this part of the country, buckle up. There's a big front coming through, and it ain't going to be pretty. Probably as ugly as some of the endings of the NCAA tournament games we had from both a fan and gambling perspective. So let's dive right in. Let me go ahead and tell you where we're headed here. NCAA tourney breakdown. I'm going to break down all the games. I'm going to tell you about how Sister Jean stole my soul, this 98-year-old chick. None. We've got NFL free agency. I haven't given you a verdict on NFL free agency yet because I haven't done very many shows since I got out to Vegas. I saw Jimmy Garoppolo in Las Vegas. He was gorgeous. I'll tell you a recap of my interaction with Jimmy Garoppolo. Russian election. Would you believe that your boy was invited to Russia, all expenses paid by the government, to make sure that the election of Vladimir Putin was legitimate? And Facebook data breach. And man, the stock is tanking today as more issues associated with Facebook politicization rear their ugly head. But I want to tell you, Sweet 16 is here. I hung out. We had events. I appreciate all the VIPs. I brought up the VIPs to my hotel room that wanted to and were able to meet up on Wednesday night. Bought them all beer, let them sit and watch the show. Had a lot of fun with that. And we also had to meet up a little bit at the Mirage, and it was brought to you by my guys at the Sportsbook Review. I'd encourage you to go to sportsbookreview.com. Do all of your gambling research there. Make sure that you get the best number on the games because it's absolute insanity right now in the world of certainly the NCAA tournament. We're going to get to that in a minute. But first, it's also almost officially spring. And my guy, Ryan Kelly, can take care of you wherever you are in the country. Go right now to thehomeloanexpert.com and make sure you get pre-qualified so you can buy the home of your dreams. It's intensely competitive wherever you are. Nashville, Atlanta, Houston, Dallas, Denver, New York City, LA, everywhere you could possibly go. It's hard to get homes in competitive neighborhoods. There are bidding wars breaking out everywhere. Why not go ahead and make sure that you are pre-qualified so that you don't have to go look at homes without knowing exactly what you can afford? My guy, Ryan Kelly, will take care of you at thehomeloanexpert.com. All right. I flew back from Vegas on Saturday. Pro tip. If you are a married man and you are taking a trip to Las Vegas as I was, you never lose by coming back a day earlier than you said you were going to come back. So I got out to Vegas on Wednesday. Had a bunch of meetings. We got a lot of cool stuff, I think, that's going to come down soon for Outkick associated with Vegas and other issues. And I decided to come back on Saturday. Now, I decided to fly back on Saturday, mistakenly thinking that Southwest Wi-Fi would work well enough for me to be able to watch the Tennessee and Loyola of Chicago game entirely on my laptop as I was flying back. Pro tip, I'm telling you right now, if you are married and you tell your wife, babe, I'll be back on Sunday, and then you come back from Vegas on Saturday, you get a lot of credit. You don't get discredit for the 3 days you were gone. You get credit for the day that you gave up. I'm just telling you, think like a playmaker, not like an idiot. Make plays. Just telling you, good tip there. All right, so I come back. Can't get the Wi-Fi to work at all on Southwest. Hardly at all. Land, and there's like 3 minutes left in the game. Nashville Airport. So I'm furiously following it on my phone and on the refresh button. And I am convinced that there's nothing worse than trying to follow a game that you really care about on like a game tracker update. Because you hit refresh and you get like 3 different plays updating all at once. And you're like, yes, great 3 plays. Or you're like, awful 3 plays. And then they leave you hanging because they're like rebound. Or foul, and you're like, is it a shooting foul? Is it a free throw? Like, what's going on? You're trying to do the math in your head. So I was miserable trying to watch this game. I get there with 3 minutes left. It's a big crowd of people in the Nashville airport, right in the middle of Tennessee's run to come back. I'm there to take the lead. I'm there for the controversy over who touched the ball last. And I swear to God, I have played and watched basketball my entire life. I have never seen somebody win a game of any magnitude on a shot roll like Miami of Ohio got at the end of the game against Tennessee. I mean, that son of a bitch hit the front of the rim. The ball kicked all the way up to the very top of the backboard. It almost went over the backboard. Glanced lightly off the backboard there, comes back down and hits another part of the rim and then goes in. Loyola of Chicago, Miami of Ohio, whatever the fuck it is. A weird name school, all right, beats Tennessee. Tennessee comes rushing back, tries to put up the shot, and I am telling you right now, it was brutal. Absolutely brutal. NCAA tournament is the best way to watch a champion be crowned, but the worst way to actually crown a champion, if that makes any sense at all. There's no purpose or rhyme or reason to it whatsoever that suddenly you have to win 6 games in a row. Now, granted, if you're really good, the first 2 or 3 games should be really easy. But I tell you this right now, this Sister Jean, I'm not sure there's ever been anybody in the history of sports that has received more attention from an unjustified manner. I don't know if nobody will go after you. If you're a kid or you're an old person, nobody will take shots at you. Well, bow up, Sister Jean, because I'm about to come at you strong. Why is it impressive when old people root for teams and everybody covers it like it's amazing? If I live to be 100 years old and I still root for the exact same teams that I root for now, is that a really big accomplishment? Would all of you be like, holy hell, look at Clay Travis, look how impressive he is. He's 100 years old and he still roots for the same teams that he did when he was 20 and 30 and 40 and 50 and 60. I don't get it. I don't get why old people get credit for rooting for teams. This is not just Sister Jean, by the way. This Millie chick, Millie from the Vikings. Millie from the Vikings was like 100 years old, Vikings fan. And the freaking commissioner went to go meet her during the game. And then they gave her great seats and everything else. She's just an old person rooting for a team, probably the same team she's been rooting for her whole life. Somebody explain to me why this is a big story. Why Sister Jean, who, by the way, just dunked on me all over when she said, you've become a major national story now. And she says, well, I hate to correct you, but I've actually become an international story. This nun has got some lip on her. I got to tell you, she's spinning that lip. She's talking a lot of mad trash. The way they did the cutaway, they showed the Sister Jean cackling like an evil stepmother, and then they showed the poor little Tennessee girl in the overalls, and I just wanted to hug her and say, you poor little girl, root for another team right now. Don't do this to your life. I'm telling you, this is what your life is going to be. I wanted to cry too. I knew exactly how that little girl felt. But why in the world does everybody give credit to the old woman just because she's an old woman who's rooting for sports? This is not a news story. I'm sure there's a 100-year-old dude who really wanted Tennessee to win. I'm sure there's a 100-year-old person rooting for one side or the other in every game. Why do we make them superheroes? Why do we turn them into major stories? If the goal is just to make old people happy, shouldn't we just, I don't know, what can we do to make old people happy? Give them a Matlock channel? Bring back Lawrence Welk and just put it on all day long? I don't know exactly what old people want, but the idea that an old person should get their team to win, it cancels out. It's like the same philosophy I have when people cite religion after the game. Like, thank God for rewarding us. We had faith in God and we won. So you think God hates the other team? I just don't understand it. Like, if God is worried about who wins a game, then I don't think it matters. Who I do think is worried about who wins the game, and I'm not the kind of guy who casts aspersions on character. Not the kind of guy to just throw out accusations and insults. First of all, I want to get that straight. Having said that, I really think that Sister Jean may have sold her soul to the devil. Now, some of you out there are going to say it's unlikely that a nun would remain in the faith of God for 98 years and then suddenly just decide to go with the other team. I'm telling you, LeBron does it all the time, first of all. Secondly, I think Sister Jean might have done it because Loyola of Chicago didn't win any games at all. No games at all that Loyola of Chicago was winning. And then suddenly they go to the Sweet 16 and they make 2 jumpers at the buzzer to do it, and you're telling me that God, who hasn't helped out Sister Jean or Loyola of Chicago for all this time, has suddenly decided to come down on Loyola of Chicago's side? I don't think so. I don't think God picks sides. I think the devil might. And I think just Sister Jean, when it comes out, truth be told, went straight to the devil, Beelzebub himself, and she said, look, I don't have a lot of time left, but I want to have my team advance as far as they can in the NCAA tournament. What do you need from me? The devil said, I need your soul. And then Sister Jean said, that's okay. Because what I'll do is I'm going to Benjamin Button Clay Travis. I am going to steal his soul. I'm going to yank it right out of him like she just like the mummy. You just like suck out the life. I'm telling you, I'm not sure that I have anything left. I think that all my vim, my vigor, my vitality, all of it going to Sister Jean, and I'm going in the opposite direction. So the other thing is people are like, oh, you can't say anything bad about Sister Jean at all. The media is like, oh my God, somebody sent a mean tweet about Sister Jean. There isn't a single Tennessee fan on earth who didn't want to curse Sister Jean to the ends of the heavens the moment that shot was made when they showed her cackling face on the screen. That doesn't mean that they necessarily hate Sister Jean in real life, but when your team beats somebody else's team and you are the foremost fan of that team, you are in for it. You deserve to get ridiculed. If everybody's going to hold you up as this bastion of virtue because you're old and you have a favorite team, then it's perfectly reasonable for people to take shots at you when your team actually triumphs because you sold your soul to the devil. Now, that's what I'm telling you. Exactly. The devil went down to Loyola of Chicago. That school has sold its soul for a little bit of gold. That's the truth. I know that Sister Jean loves me, but that doesn't mean that I can't hate her team, and I can't hate her selling her soul to the devil in order to have Loyola of Chicago advancing. All right, several other things. Michigan. Not a basketball expert. Not an X's and O's guy. Basketball's not that complicated. You know what I would have done with 3 seconds left? I would have put somebody on the inbounds pass if I was coaching Houston. Kelvin Sampson. Does the name Christian Laettner mean nothing to you? Why ever would you not have a guy running along the baseline trying to wave his arms? The only reason I can see not to do it is because you're afraid that somebody's going to set up that block trap where you run into him, and you got to notify your guy that might happen. I got to tell you, don't let somebody make a clean pass in bounds. I don't understand this decision at all. I said it while I was watching it by myself. My wife had fallen asleep. She's a Michigan grad. She has no faith in Michigan. I'm laying in bed beside her, back from Vegas, and I said to myself, because I just have to talk to myself now, why don't they have somebody on the inbounds pass? They get a great pass in. The guy drilled an incredible shot. But why in the world do you allow that pass to be made to half court and allow any kind of dribble like that to take place? Make the dribbling take place until you get to half court. And a lot of times then you're going to get a running shot instead of a set shot with the guy just putting a ball up on the rim. City of Cincinnati. I don't know how many people are from Cincinnati right now. I don't know how many of you are watching me right now. But there's never been a bigger choke job in the history of the city than what Xavier and Cincinnati pulled off. And I know you guys are rivals, and that half of you love the fact that we got the collapse, and the other half hated it, and that a lot of Xavier fans were making fun of Cincinnati, and then the same damn thing happened to them in the same gym just a couple of hours later. How do you manage to collapse like that? You're up 22 with under 11 minutes to go if you're Cincinnati. If you just hold the ball, that's all you have to do, and I think it's almost impossible for you to lose. Just stand there and hold the ball for 30 seconds and take shot clock violations. Or hold the ball for 29 seconds and then throw up a three at the end of the clock every time, because you might get a rebound offensively, and also you might make a shot. I don't understand how this is possible. And then Xavier is up, I believe, 11 or 12 with like 6 minutes left, and they choked it away too. And don't give me the garbage. It's not like you were playing one of the best teams in the tournament. You did that to Nevada, and you did that to Florida State. It's a ridiculous situation to find yourselves in. 1 seed Xavier, 2 seed Cincinnati, out the window. Now, a lot of talk about all the upsets and the fact that the only people left in the South region are Kentucky, Kansas State, Certainly Loyola of Chicago and Nevada. But let me talk about the South region for a minute. I was at the sportsbook watching the Virginia collapse against UMBC. And here's the deal about the Virginia loss. It wasn't even a shock because they got their ass kicked so hard. Like in the sports book, when that game ended, everybody was like, I'm just glad it's over. It's not just that Virginia lost. It's that they lost by 20 as the overall number 1 seed against the worst of the 16 seeds. This was literally the committee saying, we believe Virginia is the best team in the tournament, and we are pairing them with this team, UMBC, that we believe is the worst team in the tournament, and they still actually found a way to lose by 20 and just get run off the floor. I find that shellacking to be unbelievable. However, I am also starting to feel like an old guy. And all you youngins out there who are watching this show and you're sharing it and everything else, I've never felt older than when I saw that shot and that beatdown happen. And I said to myself, you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of Mike Tyson getting knocked out in 1990 by Buster Douglas. I was 11 years old. The fight happened at 2 a.m. on the East Coast. I didn't have HBO because we didn't have the money. My dad wouldn't pay for HBO. Nobody knew it happened until the next morning. And the next morning, people were so shocked that they couldn't even show the video. They just showed still photographs on ESPN, on SportsCenter, and on all the local newscasts. And so they had a replay of the Mike Tyson fight a day or two later. And I went to my grandma's house with my dad because we were so stunned by what we had seen. And I was such a Mike Tyson fan that we sat and we watched that fight on a replay on HBO because we had no idea what had actually happened and because the entire thing was such an actual controversy. It was, in my opinion, a much bigger upset than UMBC versus UVA. But I put up a poll question and thousands of you voted, and you said by almost a 3-1 margin that a 16 seed getting beat by a 1 seed, UMBC by UVA was bigger. I think all of you are wrong. I think you're all a bunch of idiots who were voting that. Buster Douglas was a 42-1 underdog. At worst, UMBC was somewhere in the 20-1s, okay? I also don't know what the story is with the hockey. I wasn't alive then, I didn't watch it. But I think the other probably biggest upset of my life is App State going on the road and beating Michigan in the Big House. So I put up those 4 options. Over 30,000 of you have voted. Let me give you the latest numbers. And I got to say, most of the time I see the results of poll questions and I'm like, you know what? There's wisdom in masses. I think all of you are getting this wrong. I think I'm right, and I think all of you are really wrong about this. So here are the numbers. Let me pull it up here. 30,000 of you have voted in this poll. Over 30,000 of you have voted. You voted the U.S. hockey win was the biggest upset of the last 40 years, 47% of you. 30% said UMBC over UVA. 13% of you said App State beating Michigan in the Big House. And only 10% of you agreed with me, Buster Douglas knocking out Tyson. So that means that 90% of you are wrong. That means that 90% of you are wrong. I am right. I have no idea where you guys went and got your educations. I have no idea how you could actually have made such an awful decision. All right. That's my thoughts on the NCAA tournament in general. Before the tournament started, by the way, gambling picks have been awful, but everybody's gambling picks have been awful. I've never lost more close games. I lost 3 games by 0.5 points yesterday. I don't even know what to say about that. I lost another game on a meaningless 3 that those bastards at Seton Hall hit. All right, here's the thing. My 4 Final Four picks coming into the tournament were Tennessee, Michigan, Michigan State, and Villanova. If I were redrafting my Final Four, I would stick with Villanova. I would add Duke to replace Michigan State. I would go with Kentucky, and I would probably go with Michigan still. So 2 of my 4 Final Four picks still alive. That's the way that I would play. All right. Additional thoughts. NFL free agency. This ties in with Jimmy Garoppolo. I was in Vegas on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, came back on Saturday. As I'm walking through the Palazzo, I keep bumping into Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy G, maybe the dreamiest quarterback of all time. And every time I saw him, I thought, that's a really good-looking man. Before I realized that it was Jimmy Garoppolo, I would see him as we walked past each other, and I would think to myself, damn, that's a really good-looking man. Jimmy Garoppolo is an outstanding representation of what the masculine form can represent. Now, here's the deal with Jimmy G. I was wondering, would it have been inappropriate for me to ask for a photo? Because I really wanted to get a photo with him, and I wanted to tweet, it's rough being one of the two best-looking men in Vegas for March Madness and have it be a picture with me and Jimmy Garoppolo. But I was also thinking, I've never really asked for pictures with men before. Now, a lot of you guys out there ask for pictures with me all the time. I get asked for pictures all the time. So I don't have any problem with it, and I also don't see anything wrong with it. And I got to say this right now. There was somebody at the Planet Hollywood who wanted to get his picture taken with me, and he wanted to get his picture taken with me right as the UVA and UMBC game was ending. And I never big-time anybody. I never big-timed anybody in my life. I've never turned down somebody who wanted a photo. Doesn't matter what I look like. Doesn't matter what I'm doing. Doesn't matter where I am. I have never turned down a photo request from anybody who likes me or likes Outkick. But at that particular instance, I was walking to go do my Periscope, and I turned to the guy and I said, sorry, this game is ending right now. I want to make sure I'm getting a live reaction to Periscope. And then I never saw him again. I said, I'll get you. I don't want him to think I big-timed him. He was an Indiana fan. He was at the Planet Hollywood. I was not big-timing him. I just had to do my job. The game was ending. I had to go live. What would the world think if I wasn't able to react to the first 1 versus 16 upset? The world might come to an end. So I apologize to that guy. But I really did want to get a picture with Jimmy G, but I also was thinking, is it weird for me to ask for a photo with Jimmy G? I want your verdicts right now on Facebook and Twitter. Would it have been wrong for me to ask for a photo with Jimmy G? Yes, it would have been wrong, or no, it would not have been wrong. What would you guys think? Not weird. No, so everybody is on my side here that I should have done it. Everybody's on, everybody's totally fine with it. I should have done it. I apologize to all of you for not getting my picture taken with Jimmy Garoppolo. And I think, I don't know if Jimmy Garoppolo has any idea who I am. I don't have any clue. Sometimes athletes I meet are fans of Outkick and they're aware of who I am. Other people are totally oblivious. I have no idea. If Jimmy G's up early in the morning, he might in San Francisco, if he wants to put on Sports Talk Radio, flip it on 97.5 in San Francisco and hear me from 5 to 6 a.m. So I'll keep that in mind the next time I see a famous person and think about whether or not to get my picture taken. All right, I don't know if, by the way, NFL free agency quickly. I love the move by the Vikings. I love the move by the Vikings to say, screw it, we need to go get everything done that we can. We got Stephon Diggs coming up on free agency soon. We got Thielen. We've got an incredibly talented offensive line. We've got, our guy at Rudolph at tight end. There's a lot of talent on that on that Minnesota Vikings team. I love the move to go get Kirk Cousins and say, screw it, we're going for the championship right now. I love that move, okay? I also don't think it was necessarily a bad move to go Case Keenum with the Broncos. Jesus, this is something that we're gonna have to get somebody at Periscope to get control of, because stuff like this is just it's not helpful. And it should be something that automatically blocks you when you try to do stuff like that. But Periscope people, watch this. This is something you guys need to get on. Just an idea. Got an idea that maybe you could take care of it. All right. So the upshot of everything is, I like the Kirk Cousins move. I think it's okay of a move. I actually don't mind the Sam Bradford move by the Cardinals because there's so much desperation out there. But I think everything is breaking in the way where it's possible. I think everything is breaking in the way where it's possible that the Browns are going to have their cake and eat it too. I think it's possible that the Browns get their overall number 1 pick, and that also quarterbacks go 1, 2, 3, and the Browns also get Saquon Barkley at 4. That's a home run for the Browns. I've been arguing it for a while. That would be phenomenal if you are a Cleveland Browns fan. Free agency otherwise, I don't think anybody materially altered their team's trajectory of success other than the Vikings, who I would now make the favorites to win the Super Bowl. I believe in Kirk Cousins. I think he's got great wide receivers, tight end. You assume that Cook's going to come back, Dalvin Cook at running back, and be healthy. And by the way, with those wide receivers, that quarterback, and that tight end, there should be a ton of running backs that could otherwise be successful. So I think that makes sense. If I were the Browns, who would I draft? I think that's a challenge. I've argued that the Browns maybe take two guys, take a guy at the top of the first round, maybe take a guy early in the second round. I'm really torn on who the number one overall pick should be if I were just going quarterback. Josh Rosen, I think, is the most ready to play, but I'm not sure that Josh Rosen's ceiling is that high, and I also have concerns about his durability. I think Sam Darnold can make every throw, but he also threw a lot of picks at USC last year, and I'm curious what the overall vibe is associated with Sam Darnold. I don't buy into Josh Allen just because I think Josh Allen is the quintessential guy the Browns draft who turns into a bust. If you had to project a guy the Browns were going to draft that would turn into a complete bust, it would be Josh Allen. Big, strong-armed quarterback, no record of success, weak completion percentage, and then you bring him in and he does the exact same thing in the pros that he did in college. I just have it hard-pressed to go get a guy who wasn't great and didn't dominate at the level that he played against. And also, I kind of like Baker Mayfield, but I'm a little bit concerned about what he'd be like off the field in the wake of Johnny Manziel. That may not be fair, but he did get arrested and knocked the crap out of by a Fayetteville police officer. So I think that's certainly worth contemplating there. This is a crazy story. I don't even remember if I talked about this on the show or not, but they just had the election in Russia, and Vladimir Putin just got elected again. And I got contacted by Russians, and they wanted to invite me to come to Russia, all expenses paid, and stay at a 5-star hotel and observe the transparency of their election. No joke. I'm not kidding about this at all. Russia contacted me. They actually contacted Jason Martin. And they said, we believe you're highly influential in the United States. We're inviting a variety of media members from the United States to come to Russia and cover our election. And they invited me, all expense paid. I'm not making this up. This is 100% true. Jason Martin can back me up here. They invited me, all expenses paid, to come to Russia and watch their election. And you know what? I mean, it's crazy, but I was like, I would like to go to Russia. I mean, I think it would be awesome to go to Russia, all expenses paid, and stay in a 5-star hotel and watch their election. But it was going on the same week as the NCAA tournament, so I said I couldn't do it. What's crazy about this is Jason Martin, obviously my producer, they called him on his cell phone. They tracked down his cell phone number. I don't even know how they did that. That's some KGB stuff going on right there. They emailed me, but they tracked down Jason Martin on his cell phone to directly convey the offer for me to come to Russia and watch their election. And I was like, holy cow, like this is unbelievable. So this morning on the show, I offered the Trump administration my help, anything I can do for North Korea. I think that if you set me down with Kim Jong-un and we just talked about the NBA, I would be happy to take my radio show live to Pyongyang, go there, me and Kim Jong-un, one-on-one, 3 hours, and we just talk basketball. I wouldn't ask him about weapons. I wouldn't ask him about anything associated with North Korean geopolitical tensions. I would just talk to Kim Jong-un, sports star. I would talk to him about all his holes in one. I would talk to him about his affinity for the Chicago Bulls back in the day. Who does he think's better, LeBron James or Michael Jordan? And imagine how much different you would think about Kim Jong-un if he came on my show and he was just incredibly plugged in on the NBA. Like if he was giving you suggestions on who should be traded, if he was like, I don't know about this Golden State Warriors injury issues, and he said, man, these Houston Rockets are really on a roll. I'm not sure how the Western Conference is going to play out. What about Ty Lue getting benched by LeBron James and blaming his heart and his lack of sleep, Urban Meyer style? I don't get it. I mean, but how much more wouldn't you like Kim Jong-un a little bit more if he sat there and he was able to just totally break down the NBA? I think most of you would. I'm not saying that I'm an expert, but I'm just saying if the North Korean Information Ministry is watching this right now and they're thinking to themselves, what could we do to increase the likelihood of a deal getting done here, I think Kim Jong-un on Outkick talking NBA basketball really could make a lot of sense. I think it would make a ton of sense. All right, this Facebook stuff. Are you guys paying attention to it? I think social media has been used to exaggerate and exacerbate tensions that exist in our country. I don't think there's any doubt at all about it. I think that many of the people who exist in this country that are dividing us are being propagated and influenced and encouraged by the bot universe out there, right? Where you can buy followers, where you can influence overall the dictates of your political opinions. I don't know how any of that stuff works. I'm not smart enough. My advice, and I'm writing this in my book right now, which is going to be out in September. My advice for executives is don't buy into the idea that you need to respond to social media controversies. Ignore them. Because you know what happens with social media controversies? They last 24 hours, typically at most, and then they're gone forever. You don't need to be a CEO weighing in on Second Amendment issues. I use this as an example. Delta has no need to have any position on the Second Amendment at all. They have a discount for the NRA, which is a discount that they probably offer to the Republicans, the Democrats, all sorts of political organizations. 13 people actually took that discount. As a result of ending that NRA discount, they lost a $50 million tax rebate that they were otherwise going to get from the state of Georgia. If that's not perfect evidence of how stupid it is to kowtow to social media, the example that I use all the time is imagine that you were driving, and this has happened in all sorts of industries, but I want to use comedy as an example right now. Imagine that you were driving by a comedy club and you saw somebody standing outside of a comedy club with a big sign they had made protesting a joke that a comedian had made inside the comedy club. As you were driving by, what would you think? My God, what a loser that person is to be standing outside of a comedy club protesting jokes. If you don't like the joke that the comedian is telling, then don't buy a ticket to the show. But don't try and stop other people who do like that comedian from buying their own tickets to that show. Okay? As you drove by the comedy club, you would think, my God, what a loser that guy is to be spending his free time protesting jokes outside of a comedy club. But if you really think about it, the guy who's working at the comedy club to protest would have had to get transportation. He would have had to go buy a poster board. He would have had to make a sign. He would have had to give up hours of his day to go stand in the rain, in the sunshine, in the heat, in the cold, in the weather outside to make his political statement. Now, you might think he's an idiot, but certainly you would understand that he is doing that of his own volition. But you would ridicule him. So why, when people get on Twitter and do much less than that, when all they have to do is retweet or like something or add like 5 words and then they immediately leave the debate, why do we give them credence and legitimacy and cover them as legitimate media sources? Because you know what? Most of the media is not showing up to interview the guy standing outside of the comedy club protesting a joke. But the minute 10 people decide they're offended by something, what does the media do? They cover the story of the offended person and give it legitimacy and oxygen when it doesn't deserve it. But there's so many people perpetually offended all day long that the truth of the matter is, if you are a big company, wait 24 hours and almost every story is gone. Because there's always something else new and more outrageous to bring along in the news cycle. This is the genius of Donald Trump to the extent there is any genius. He understands that he can say whatever the hell he wants because as a result of saying so much, the media doesn't even know how to cover him. They step all over themselves trying to decide which one is the latest controversy, and as a result, none of them stick. Instead of making one error that people talk about for a year, Donald Trump goes out and says 40 things that anybody else would be major stories of, and they all just trample on each other, and most people are just like, it's refreshing, this guy's not playing the politically correct game. That's Donald Trump's genius to the extent that there is genius. But I will say this. I'm an avid user of Facebook. I'm an avid user of Twitter. I think both of these companies need to be aware of the power of their sites and the way that it can be misused, not directly by the companies, but by others who are able to manipulate the data, who are able to manipulate their sites in a way that does not lead to fairness, that does not lead to a flourishing of diverse viewpoints, and does not lead to a more educated and involved American electorate. So I think that this is a major story. Facebook stock is down 7% today. Let me look at the latest. I'll be Dow guy for you for a moment. Facebook stock is shedding billions of dollars in value today. It's now down $13, down 7% on the day. This is a story that deserves to be paid attention to. I don't think that the election was changed by the way that Facebook was used, but I do think that Facebook and Twitter and everybody else out there needs to understand that we are not dealing necessarily with an honest marketplace of ideas. The system is being rigged. I'll give you an example. Every now and then people get upset about what I say, and I'll actually go look and say, who's tweeting about being upset about what I said? Like, where are these likes and where are these retweets coming from? And what I will find is so many people out there are running their own bot armies. There are guys out there with 10 different Twitter accounts, and they're trying to foment outrage by using all 10 different accounts and trying to pretend that there is more than one person behind this. And everybody out there, I've seen this. I've had to block some guys. I'll block and I'll look at them, and then they'll respond from another account and then another account. I've had guys respond from 10 different accounts, and then I'll go back and look at it, and they've been liking things that are negative about me or my opinions, and it's not even 10 people. It's the same person sitting around all day trying to manipulate public opinion by using 10 different accounts from the same person. And I think this has become increasingly common, and I think people are using it to make stories trend, and then they're taking advantage of the fact that media covers trending stories. And so as a result, you might have 25 people with an opinion in a country of 323 million, and next thing you know, it's being covered as if it's a commonplace opinion, and it's being used to divide reasonable people in America, people who are not strongly committed to either the left or the right wing or to extreme versions of the truth here. I think it's worth paying a lot of attention to. I don't know what Twitter can do. I know they have the verified button, but I almost think you should, if I were advising Twitter right now, what I would advise Twitter to do is give a bonus, give a new type of notification if you are an official real person. You know, if you're using your real name, your tweet should have more significance than somebody who's using an anonymous Twitter account. If you put your actual name and you can provide actual legitimate, basis for your existence, in other words, link a Facebook account, link something else, then I think that would be remarkable. Give those people an advantage in the way that their opinion is given credence. And if you're just some random guy's name, don't give those comments credence. That would be one thing that I think could make a difference. I've always said this. When I founded Outkick, I said, hey, I'm not going to allow anonymous comments on Outkick, and we still don't. I set it up so you had to have a Facebook account. I don't read the comments on any article that I write. I don't pay attention to it. I don't have the time. But my general belief is if you're willing to put your name behind your opinion, you should have the free market right to say pretty much anything that you want. If you're willing to put your name behind it, then you can have whatever opinion you want. I've never had an opinion that I've shared that I haven't 100% put my name behind. You may not like me. You may not agree with anything that I say, but I think that's a significant detail. And so if I were running Twitter right now, what I would be doing is looking at these numbers, same thing with Facebook, and giving credence to legitimate people who we know are 100% real. I'm a huge shareholder of Twitter. I love the company and what they've been able to do for me and for many other people out there in terms of the distribution of our ideas. But I do think that anonymous Twitter accounts should not be allowed to flourish and should not be treated on the same and level playing field as people who are using their real names to give you their real opinions. That's just my personal belief. I think it would clean a lot of things up, and I think it would be tremendously helpful. All right. I love all of you. My name is Clay Travis. It's been Outkick the Coverage. Go get qualified for your mortgage at thehomeloanexpert.com with my guy Ryan Kelly. Make sure that you also go check out sportsbookreview.com to make sure that you know all the best numbers as you get ready for the Sweet 16. We'll be live tomorrow. Bruce Pearl is going to join us on the radio show. Wake up early, 7:20 a.m. Eastern, 6:20 Central, 5:20 Mountain, and 4:20 Pacific. Make sure that if you're in the Nashville area or you're here where the storms are rolling through, tornadoes forecast is going to be dangerous. Make sure you stay safe, you and your family. I want all of you to continue to be members of the Outkick family and not die. I am Clay Travis, and this has been Outkick the Coverage.